Throughout the 20th century, the Soviet Union treated chess as a massive, state-funded scientific experiment. For nearly 50 years, their players dominated world competition by treating cognitive development as a rigorous engineering problem. Soviet researchers treated the human brain like a physical muscle. They built training systems that forced students to lift heavy mental weights daily, focusing on building neural strength through repeated, high-resistance effort. You can apply these exact mechanics to your own goals without knowing a single rule of the game. For these scientists, chess was simply a laboratory to test the limits of human learning. These techniques scale to any high-stakes environment. They can be used to achieve fluency in a new language, pass professional certification exams, or retain the dense technical data required for your career. We are going to walk through the implementation steps. Grab a notebook, a pen, and a stack of index cards, or open the Anki app on your phone. The Soviet school provides a structured framework designed to override the brain's natural rate of decay. By following these protocols, you can build a highly durable memory capable of retrieving information under extreme pressure. Mikhail Botvinnik, a 3-time world champion and engineer, pioneered the use of exhaustive self-analysis. He required his students to sit down after every match and write out a meticulous, step-by-step breakdown of their decision-making process. This utilizes the generation effect. Research shows that translating information into your own words creates more durable structural pathways in the brain than the passive act of listening or reading. Apply this by closing your materials immediately after a meeting or class. Write down everything you can recall in your own language. Any detail you cannot clearly articulate represents a recall gap that requires immediate restudy. Individual notes are then scaled into a kartoteka, a comprehensive card file system. Soviet chess players used these physical cards to categorize thousands of specific observations into a searchable database maintained over decades. Start your own database by writing exactly one discrete idea per index card. Use the back of the card for the explanation in your own words. Categorizing these cards by topic allows you to see how different concepts link together into a broader web of knowledge. Externalizing your knowledge this way clears your internal processing power. It shifts the brain's role from a storage drive to an active analytical engine. To prevent mental looping during complex decisions, the Soviet school utilized the tree of analysis. This method stops the brain from cycling through the same options repeatedly without reaching a conclusion. You clear your working memory by forcing a complete evaluation of one option at a time. Trace path A to its final conclusion, write that conclusion down, and then move to path B without revisiting the first option. Grandmasters manage data through chunking. Instead of 32 individual pieces, they recognize familiar patterns, snapping scattered data into compressed chunks. Practice this by never memorizing isolated facts. Group them into segments, like breaking a phone number into an area code, middle, and end. Organizing your options linearly and grouping data visually prevents cognitive overload. This allows the brain to retrieve large volumes of information nearly instantly. Soviet trainers also used look-away puzzles to build internal visualization. Students were required to study a position and then calculate several moves ahead entirely in their imagination, without looking at the board. You can train your visuospatial sketchpad using any complex diagram. Study a map or a technical chart for 60 seconds. Close your eyes and recreate every detail and spatial relationship on your internal movie screen. The Guess the Move game further forces the brain into an active state. By stopping a known sequence of events midway and forcing a student to choose the next action, trainers turned passive observation into active effort. When reading a report or a case study, cover the next paragraph. Force yourself to predict the upcoming outcome or the next logical step in the argument before you uncover the text. Champion Tigran Kotrosian specialized in prophylactic thinking. This involves actively anticipating an opponent's specific goals to filter out irrelevant information and focus on critical threats. Use this during exam or interview prep by role-playing as your evaluator. Predict exactly which questions they are likely to ask. This specific anticipation prompts your brain to prioritize and file away the most relevant information. Forcing the brain to calculate future variables creates more durable neural connections than simply recording events that have already occurred. Biological memory decay follows a predictable curve, dumping roughly 70% of new data within 48 hours. Spaced repetition allows you to reset this curve by reviewing material at specific, expanding intervals. Abandon the habit of cramming entirely. Instead, review your new notes after 1 day, then 3 days, then 1 week. These catches happen just as the brain prepares to forget the data, signaling that the information is vital for long-term storage. You must also guard against the Einstein trap. This is a cognitive flaw where a familiar-looking situation tricks the brain into applying an old solution that is no longer valid or correct. Practice checkpointing to defeat this. Before committing to a conclusion that feels immediate or familiar, force a deliberate 3-second pause to confirm that the rules of the current problem haven't changed. The Botvinnik school insisted on a final pressure test, teaching the material to skeptical peers. Defending choices exposes your own gaps. True memory permanence is the result of systematic review, deliberate pauses to check for bias, and the active defense of your knowledge against others. The final layer of the Soviet system focused on the physiological requirements of the brain. They maintained that intellectual techniques require a specific physical foundation to function correctly. Daily physical movement was mandatory. Aerobic exercise stimulates the release of BDNF, a protein that supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new ones. Sleep is a non-negotiable requirement. The physical transfer of information from short-term memory into long-term storage occurs almost exclusively during deep sleep cycles. Consistency is prioritized over intensity. Small daily efforts in these techniques result in far better physiological adaptation than occasional high-intensity study sessions. This process requires patience. Citing the training times of world champions, the Soviet school noted that building this level of memory capacity is measured in years of consistent application. A grandmaster-level memory is the reliable result of these specific mental techniques supported by a healthy physical lifestyle. Select 2 of these methods to integrate into your routine starting today.